What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of I don't know what to call it anymore. We were the Wild You, and listen, that just too many places at once. Okay, and the Wild You, the platform that was hosting us, they decided, like everything else in today's society, that they wanted way more money to do something that we were getting paid nothing to do. We had the Blackwater channel for years, didn't do much with it. Woke up one day and had a couple thousand subscribers on there, had some people commenting on stuff. So I just figured, just take it back to where it started, get back on the Blackwater track. Blackwater business is still rolling just fine, so why not keep all the information in one spot? Today's subject that we're talking about, I'm sure you've already read the title at the top of this video, is the subject that really launched the Wild You podcast to the point that we actually had a substantial amount of listeners. And this was the one that started. And I don't remember, year and a half ago, hell, maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember when we first launched this episode, but it was the CWD episode. It was the episode of Mr. Robert Williams, who I've become fond of. He and I talk quite a bit, and I got a string. The man can text message. I've got a string of text messages, which it may not be him that's text messaging. It might be his daughter, Mary Lou, but got a string of messages from him, and they've kept me updated through this entire process. You couple that with, when we first did that first episode, we didn't really have anywhere directly correlated to CWD to share that. And so I just kind of shared it on my personal page, and we shared it through some of the Wild You stuff and just kind of let it run how it ran, and took off. A lot of you guys shared it and gals shared it, and so it gained some traction, enough traction that Mr. Williams was really happy and wanted us to start covering, some more stuff for him on the subject. Unfortunately, we can only cover so much because only so much information comes out without being redundant. And y'all know I'm good at being redundant. So I tried to stay away as much as I could and just start giving, pieces on larger topics that were coming in. Anyways, I'm 3 minutes into this already and I haven't said anything about it. But long story short, to get it going, a new Facebook group, I believe it's a group, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe a page, came up, CWD Coalition. It's on Facebook. And I got an invite to join that, I believe from my buddy Hayden. And so anyways, I joined, and I've really just been following. Every now and then, I'll leave a comment, but I've really just been following to use it as what it's meant for, a great source of current information for the most part. Every now and then somebody will jump in there and throw in something that happened a year or even 2 years ago that seems to be really relevant right now, but it's kind of a little clickbaitish because of the people, and it's nothing against the people. They just didn't know, that individual didn't know what they were posting at the time wasn't current. But the people that run the coalition, as well as the men and women who this is affecting their everyday lives, they're quick to jump in and say, hey, no, look, let's not post inaccurate information. Let's keep this streamlined to something that's current and updated. And so they get that shut down really quick. And it is right now currently the everyday outdoorsman's proper current events of what's taking place in CWD. And for our state of Texas. And so it's really been a blessing to be able to read that stuff and stay in the know. I'm going to have to put sunglasses on. Don't make fun of my glasses, but the sun coming up over here is killing me. All right, there we go. I mean, do make fun of it. I would make fun of, a dude that wore glasses inside too, but it is what it is. So moving forward, Robert, I'm sitting at one of the ranches we run our Blackwater hunts on the other day and get a call from Robert Williams. And I'm excited to answer the call because I just saw the day before on the CWD Coalition page that, he was granted, won the injunction, I guess, was granted another temporary restraining order. And this is me talking out of turn on this subject because I didn't read notes before I did this as far as what I was going to say on that particular topic. But that he had, been granted another temporary restraining order or injunction for them to come out and kill his deer. If you remember, when we did the first one, it was within hours of them wanting to come out, and they can call it putting them down or depopulating. It's slaughtering. It's what it is. They need to just start using words that match the definition of what they're going to do. If you go to a meat plant, which we know as slaughterhouses, but it's actually even more humane than what they're planning on doing. And I'm sure I'm going to get just blacklisted by TPWD for videos like this, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't break the law when it comes to hunting or fishing regulations, so I don't have anything to worry about there. But it's not a depopulation. That sounds like you're moving them somewhere else. It's a slaughter. That's exactly what it is. They come in and they kill off everything that you have in their guidelines. So first time I dropped the story, that's what it was about, that they were coming in, they were going to slaughter his deer. He found a way legally, and when I say legally, I don't mean like he was going to break the law otherwise. He found a way legally, like through attorneys and through the judicial system, to have that shut down. And it was by way of restraining order, so that they couldn't come out there and do that. Long story short, it's progressed and progressed and progressed, and it's been a tennis match or volleyball match. They're volleying back and forth. TPWD is trying to find a way to come out here and slaughter all of his deer. Mr. Williams and his family are trying to find a way to hold them off to keep them from coming out. And this isn't a guy that's just like willy-nilly doing this and has an operation that, is kind of subpar or whatever. This is a guy that's been in it as long as anybody, has a top-notch, top-of-the-line operation, and does things the right way. You can go back and listen to the other stuff, or you can get on the coalition, or you can find stuff that Mr. Williams has done elsewhere and see that he's not somebody that skims. He's not somebody that cheats the system. He's not somebody that tries to cut corners. He has done things the right way since the very beginning. This is very frustrating for Mr. Williams to go through this. Anyways, I see on the deal the other day that, it definitely got more exciting on the CWD Coalition Facebook page than it was when I spoke to Mr. Williams. I was taken aback by Mr. Williams' train of thought after reading, what I was reading on the Coalition page. I read it, granted, skimmed through it, but read it as, oh, he finally won. Okay? Speak to Mr. Williams, and it's more of a, no, I didn't win. We just held him off again a little bit longer so that I could, try to continue to save my deer. Well, here's where it gets interesting. Mr. Williams is to the point now where, and I don't want to say conceding because that's a that's an awkward term for this. But he's to the point now where he understands it's never going to be what it once was. He's never going to just have the TPWD go away, leave him alone, and him continue to run his operation how he sees fit. So he understands that, and he's past that point of trying to do that. What he's trying to do now is shed light on what TPWD is trying to do to him and his deer herd, and give a alternative solution to their solution of slaughter. Here's where it gets interesting. Mr. Williams calls me and he tells me, we go through our, initial talks, and then he tells me, Skylar, this is what I have proposed to see done. Okay? And I even have the letter here that he wrote, and has his own, this is all word for word on his. And I'm going to read this to you, and then I'll go into what he and I talked about over the phone. It says, update, TPWD denied my proposal and sent a 10-day kill order. I have gotten a temporary restraining order from Judge Bobby Rich in Kaufman County. I have a hearing set, sorry, it cut a bunch of words off the end of this page. I have a hearing set for 9 a.m. on Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023 in Kaufman County Court. All that can attend are welcome. I cannot believe that TPWD will not allow my bucks to be released from the breeder pens to be harvested by wounded heroes, I think that's the name of the organization, from Military Warriors Support Foundation. That's the name of the foundation. Military Warriors Support Foundation, at no charge to them. These heroes have served their country and deserve the experience of a lifetime. Also, the meat will be put to a useful purpose other than to be thrown in a hole, covered up with dirt to rot. Listed below are employees of TPWD that need to hear your voice of disapproval. Please contact your senator or representative as well. Thanks for your support, Robert Williams. And then he listed 3 names, and I'll give you the names later because Mr. Williams was very adamant that I released that information. But to touch on that, this is the crazy part to me. Okay, now most of y'all know, anybody that's listened to me know where I stood on breeding operations from the get-go. I think that they have been great for our industry. I think they've been great for learning about genetics, learning about disease, learning about population growth, how we age deer, getting a better understanding of whitetail in general. I think it's been great for that. I think it's been great from a financial standpoint for our industry. But I also think that in the initial conception of doing this, that proper rules and structure was not put into place to prevent the problems we're having right now from ever beginning. So there are days where I think about it and I wish that it would have never been allowed in the first place, because, and not saying because I think it brings negative light on our industry, but because I liken it to a situation where a landowner is spending all their time and money and effort to grow the state's deer. And that sounds weird, I know, because the landowners make money off of this and the breeders make money off of this. I understand that. I understand that's the plus of the government's plus of you getting to do this. However, it's a very disturbing thought to think that you would put all your life's effort into doing this without a stipulation that says the government can't come in and do what they're doing now. So I think somewhere when this was started, we missed the boat by having those type of stipulations put in there, right? Because if it would have turned out like it is in some of the other states, where it's, hey, no, if they're private deer behind high fence, in breeder pens, whatever, they belong to that landowner, and therefore you can't come in and just wipe his place out, then we have a better, leg to stand on. But somehow it remained as, no, those are the state's deer no matter what. You can do whatever you want in there, within X guidelines that they did set, and then they redid those guidelines here, not too long ago. But still, nonetheless, the deer are still property of the state, which is just so weird to me. But Mr. Williams, I think, understands that that's the case, and that portion of this situation is not going to get beat in a court of law. And I shouldn't say not, anything's possible, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen where a judge is going to come in and reverse it and say, no, those deer belong to Mr. Williams and the state needs to get out of it and he can do whatever he wants. I don't see that happening. And I don't believe Mr. Williams does either. And that's why he reported to me what he did in our phone call 2 days ago. And that is, he said, Scholar, I've got some of the biggest whitetail that people have ever seen. And he sent me some pictures, and he's not exaggerating at all. I'm talking 300-inch plus whitetail. He said, I drive past those deer every single day. And he said now he's to the point where he doesn't even like driving past them because it sickens him to think that that's his life's work is growing those deer, and that the state's going to come in and put them in a hole. And those are his words. They're going to dig a hole and dump them all in the hole. What bothers him even more is that he and his family, they passionately love those deer, right? Just like any of us would when you spend all your time and effort raising, growing. Think of all the work that this guy and his family has put in to going from deer one to what he has now, a proper program that produces giants year after year after year. And to think that all that time you spent will end up buried in a hole. And how will they get to the hole is something that really haunts Mr. Williams. And so that's what he told me, was that their plan, the government's plan, was to come in at night and he definitely has a hang up with suppressors. He calls them silencers, but he definitely has a hang up with suppressors. But to come in at night with suppressed rifles in his pens and shoot all of the deer. Now, any of us that have ever worked in or around breeding pens understand that they're not large areas. Some of them are a lot bigger than others, but they're not large areas. I don't care if it's daytime, nighttime, if you got a suppressor, if you're shooting subsonics, I don't care what it is. After the first shot, some pens prior to the first shot, just getting up to it, but definitely after the first shot, the deer will be spooked tremendously. If you've got a pen that has 30 deer in there, you're going to get the first one, quote unquote, somewhat humanely. After that, it will be a rodeo. There is no way around it. There's no way around it not turning into a rodeo. I'm talking maimed deer, broken necks, broken legs, stuff caught up in fences, tearing themselves apart, running themselves to death, potential heart attack, just non-stop chaos until they're all dead. And there's no way to go around that. That's what's going to happen. Now, if TPWD can produce a video, right, which people have been asking for, if you could produce a video to show us, no, we go in there and we have the world's greatest nighttime assassins that come in and it, boom, that long and it's over and nothing is even spooked and they're all done and put out, no problem. Then sure, we might have a little difference of opinion about it. However, most of us have been in situations, just trying to dart deer or bring somebody in to refill protein feeders or medicate deer or get deer to move from one pen to the other. It's not an easy task. It's not a calm task. It gets a little Western every time you do it. Mr. Williams says, here's my solution. He's okay. He has come to terms that he's okay that all of his deer have to be put down. However, he does not want it done inhumanely. His offer to the state is this: allow him to turn all of his big bucks out, all of his bucks, turn all the bucks out into his pasture. Bring in these men and women, the wounded heroes, from the Military Warrior Support Foundation. He is going to allow them, however many deer he has, that's how many men and women can come, schedule it out. He will allow them for free to harvest the biggest whitetail they will ever have an opportunity to harvest in their life, to give back to the military members that supported our country. He would like to give these deer back to them and support them. They would also be able to keep the meat. He even told me over the phone, I can't guarantee this, but he told me over the phone, he even had it set up where somebody was going to pay for these men and women to have these deer mounted. So completely free of charge, these men and women will be able to come out to his ranch, harvest the biggest whitetail they've ever laid eyes on, get the deer mounted, get the meat to take back home with him. That's a pretty fair deal for the state to do. I don't see why they would say no to that. On top of that, with his does, concerning his does, he said that he and his family, or the people that help him work the ranch, would run the does through the chute, just like they do daily, weekly, monthly when they have to work the deer. He would run them through the chute. He would give them a shot, an actual injection instead of a rifle, to be put down humanely, and would move them off. That's two solutions that Mr. Williams is saying, I will concede to your ideology that I have to kill all my deer. I'm giving you that. Here's how I would like to do it. I would like to donate all my giant bucks to military men and women who have served our country, allow them to come out and harvest a deer, keep the meat, and have taxidermy done so they can have a memory of their trophy. And I would like to have all of my whitetail does run through a chute that we do, people they're used to, lethally inject them humanely, and then dispose of the carcasses. That sounds like a pretty fair deal. If the state is not willing to go for that, I'm not sure, one, what the catch is, two, what the animosity is towards Mr. Williams, or three, what a logical explanation would be as to why they're not. The only thing I've come up with is in my head is that the state would say that Mr. Williams could not guarantee every one of the deer were down. However, I feel like Mr. Williams is being pretty open and working towards appeasing the state. He would just like to do it on his terms. We all know that every one of those deer are registered. Every one of those deer have a tag or tattoo system that shows where they are in the line of deer that he has. And seems that it would be pretty easy to show proof that every one of them had been terminated from the property. I think it's a fair solution to the problem. I think it solves exactly what the state's wanting solved. And I think it gives Mr. Williams a chance to handle his business the way that he feels comfortable doing it. Talking about a guy that's done this for years. He deserves the opportunity to go out the way that he would like to go out, so long as the end result is the same end result that the state is wanting to accomplish. And the state's deer, right? Because that's what we keep getting told. The state's deer deserve a proper, humane way of being put down. We do that with every other thing in society. Let's be honest. When people are on death row, we don't even go in with silencers and shoot them at nighttime. They get a lethal injection, humanely. And they've actually done something wrong. The deer haven't. The deer possibly have a disease that I still haven't been shown proof has killed something by itself. So I think take the entity of the government out of it, and some of the people in the government use their heads and hearts as people who supposedly love wildlife and want to do right by the wildlife. I think Mr. Williams is on the right track. And I think this situation, if allowed, will set precedents of what should happen in the future. It gives the landowners a way out that the state allowed to get into this problem in the first place. It gives the landowners a way out ethically, peacefully, and it does right by the wildlife that we've put into this situation. If you would like to, I don't know if you can read it. I'll just go ahead and say it. These are the names that Mr. Williams gave to me that he would like you to call and express your opinion. John Solofsky, he's a Wildlife Division Director, 903-780-2785. Hunter Reed is the Wildlife Veterinarian, 830-890-1230. And Alan Kane is the Big Game Program Director, 830-480-4038. Hope you guys enjoyed this take, my take. I hope and ask that you will share this around, not for me, but for Mr. Williams, for the deer, and for us as outdoorsmen, that we will be able to move in the right direction and get this away from he said, she said, trying to fight and leaving the deer and the landowners in a horrible situation. Surely there's a way that we can work together to end this problem, or give at least a solution ethically for the landowners and the deer. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the next one.